Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hump Day with MCR.
That was weird.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, it was.
I had to make it a little weird.
Yeah, of course you did.
Yeah, we're feeling a little bit under the weather. We have been the past couple of days. Both of us had a little bit of a stomach bug.
However, by the time you're seeing this or listening to this, it'll probably be next week.
Yeah. So what we are going to do today is I am going to ask Ciara questions.
Yay!
And if we get through all of her questions before our time limit is over, then she's going to ask me questions because I'm very bad at writing down questions. Yeah?
Yep.
All right. You ready to start?
Yeah.
All right.
Go for it.
And everybody, don't forget, you can go check out my TikTok at IamMarcus01. We also just started a TikTok, MCR Podcast. We also opened up an Instagram channel, MCR Podcast 23, and YouTube, MCR Podcasts, where we also post our videos of our podcast with no video behind them, but just in case you can't listen to them on on Spotify, they will be there. Let's jump into it. Okay, so tell us the best you can about what you remember about your father being in the hospital.
I don't think we even really talked about that in the original Get to Know Us videos, but basically my dad was very sick. He went in on like a Friday afternoon after complaining for like a week and a half that his stomach was hurting. And they were like, we think you have pancreatitis. If you don't take yourself to the ER right now, we're going to have to send you an ambulance. So they rushed him over there. And my grandparents and my mom all basically came and got my brother and I at different times after school that day to go see him in the ER. He was not in a room yet, and
You okay?
I'm good.
Take your time. I know it's tough.
Yeah. Okay.
And if we need to, we can skip a question. I know I went hard on some of them, so.
Yeah, you opened up with like the...
I opened up with timeline. I'm opening up with the first thing that happened.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, what started your anxiety and depression?
Oh, I've had anxiety my entire life. My mom can talk more about that at some point, but I would agree with you that this started the depression.
Well, I'm thinking more of what could have brought it out a lot more.
Yeah. But yeah, that day we were at the ER and they basically just kind of told us like, we think it's pancreatitis. We won't know until we can get him into a room. And my family kind of was like, well, or I guess it wasn't a Friday because my brother and I had school the next day. And we went home with my Nana and Papa that night.
Now, can we talk about real quick how you've pushed a lot of this memory out?
Yeah, so there's going to be huge gaps in this story because my mind has trauma blocked out huge chunks of my life during that point. Like my family's tried talking about certain people that visited us in the hospital during this time and couldn't tell you a single person that was there. I don't know any of the names of the doctors, anything like they do.
Yeah, I don't remember what store we were at, but we were at a store and we ran into someone that visited while your dad was in the hospital, and you were like, I have no clue who that is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And for a while that was hard because my family didn't believe me until like they realized no, she really doesn't remember any of this that we're talking about. But anyway, yeah. We went home that night with my Nana and Papa, so that they could take us to school the next day. We didn't know how long my dad was going to be there. But actually, I was woken up at 1 o'clock in the morning because we had to go back to the hospital. My dad's heart had stopped for the first time. And when they were reviving him, they burst his spleen and a couple other things. So they rushed him into surgery because he was internally bleeding. His heart stopped again during surgery. And from then on, I pretty much lived at the hospital for about 3.5 months before he was able to come home. And when I say lived, I mean I was showering at this place. I was sleeping on these really uncomfortable lobby chairs of the 7th floor.
Anybody who has ever slept in a chair in a lobby of a hospital knows how uncomfortable those freaking chairs are, especially in the early 2010 era. Those chairs were horrible.
And yeah, I did that for 3.5 months. So, but now he's good. Back at work, still a pain in the butt. I guess I should probably also talk about what I was dealing with during that time. There was a person, I won't name names because they are still here, unlike my ex. This one I was in middle school. Yeah, middle school. Because it was like during my dad's stay at the hospital.
Yeah, that's what you always told me.
But, this person had a interest in me and I was not reciprocating that. And they were not happy about it. And they really wanted me to form a relationship with them. Again, I did not have any interest in doing that, but if I ever told them I didn't want to do this and I didn't want to talk to them anymore, they would send me videos of them holding a knife or a gun, sometimes cutting themselves, sometimes threatening to shoot themselves. And it was just really ugly. And then probably the worst of it was when I was at lunch in the cafeteria one day, and he was sitting with me. They were sitting with me, sorry. And they started to touch me inappropriately. I started crying, but none of my friends really knew that. It was under the table. It was done very discreetly. The only reason anybody knew something was wrong was because I was crying. And thankfully I had a really good friend who helped step in by yelling at them. So
You got any names, or are you not saying any names? It is someone that we might bring on the podcast later on, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they are willing to have their name posted out there by someone else. So for now, I'm just going to say no names.
Yeah.
But they may come on. I feel like they would like it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You ready for question number 2?
Yeah.
Okay. A little bit easier of a question. Tell us how you handled and overcame on a daily experience your anxiety and depression after that happened, in between that happening and me leaving for boot camp.
Honestly, I don't think I did handle it, because I think that's why I have problems with it now. Because of that experience, I was diagnosed with PTSD. And I really didn't realize that I had those issues probably until my sophomore year of high school.
Are you talking about your dad?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My hospital.
Yeah.
Issues. Yeah, I really don't think I did handle it because, I mean, I was against therapy at the time because my mother not really being in the best state of mind at the time, did not present therapy the right way to my brother and I. So I really don't think, I think that really turned me off therapy for a long time. And so when people would mention it to me, I'd be like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. I have no reason to sit there and talk to someone about how I feel.
So I know that whenever we first started dating, you did mention what had happened to me
Mm-hmm.
with both with your dad and the they.
Mm-hmm.
So did that help you talking to me? Because I know I was the only person you ever told about him.
Um, I would say you helped with that part of that time period. A lot of people knew about everything going on with my dad. They did fundraisers. There were people that were, like I said, visiting the hospital on a regular basis. The whole area basically knew what was going on with my dad.
Did it help to have someone so late after that had no clue about it to talk about it with?
Honestly, I don't think so. I think it was great talking to you about it because you were on the outside. Whereas, like, throughout the entire process, I was getting questions from people, like friends at school. How's your dad doing? And I'd be like, I have no idea. Nobody talks to me. He's still lying dead, you know? I don't know. Because I wasn't really, just because of how frazzled everybody was about the whole situation, my brother and I were not really a part of many of the conversations about what was going on.
Yeah.
So, like, one day we were talking about um, how he was being medicated and they were pushing all these different things into him, and we just kind of accepted it. We were too young. We didn't understand. I understand why they didn't present it to us in, like, the harshest way they could, but there were other ways that it should have been handled. And then all of a sudden, my brother and I are being pulled into a room saying, we need your mom to sign a DNR, and we don't think he's going to make it. So there were huge gaps in our knowledge at the time.
Well, I imagine as two kids in their teens, I mean, I wouldn't have told my kids that if it was happening. So,
well, you see, the thing is, I did not know that my dad had died, period, at all, until 2 or 3 weeks after we were there.
were they joking about it or something, or did it just get brought up?
It just got brought up, and my mom just, like, nobody told us.
Yeah, they just kind of acted nonchalant about it.
Yeah, because they all knew.
And you were just sitting there kind of like, what?
Yeah, like, I knew he was sick. I knew something happened, but no one really told us that side of things. So my brother and I didn't know that he had died until a ways after. Which, personally, I would have liked to know, like, why I was woken up at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
When I got there, your dad's heart stopped. He's in surgery right now. I sat in the lobby for a surgery that I didn't know what it was for.
Yeah.
For hours.
Yeah.
So, that was a bit frustrating.
Let's jump on to the next question.
All right.
Tell us what impact me leaving for boot camp had on you. Go in depth.
I would say when you first left, I kind of threw myself into the job that I ended up being in just because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do if I just let myself sit and think. I can't do that. I'm not one of those people. I need something to do. And that's part of my problem, by the way.
She likes to think a lot.
Yeah. So I threw myself into it work, and I pretty much overworked myself, honestly, for like the first few months, because one, I thought I was saving up for a plane ticket to go out to California, and when I heard about that, not happening, I was crushed.
I for sure thought my parents were gonna pay for your blah blah blah, your
Plane
plane ticket.
They were gonna pay for like food and hospital.
Hospitality.
Yeah, all of that, and I just needed to get there. I needed to get to San Diego.
Yeah.
So hearing that I wasn't going to be able to see you, that really sucked.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well,
And
hearing that I wasn't gonna get to see you, that really sucked.
yeah. So I think that's what kind of pushed me into I don't know what to do anymore. I really felt like I had lost a lot of hope when COVID hit because school was shut down and I was literally going from work to home. I wasn't seeing any friends really. I wasn't able to talk to you for a while, and I kind of just lost sight of what was important to me, which made me involve myself with people who should never have been in my life. And that's not just limited to to my ex. That's limited to probably that entire work environment at the time. That work environment was not healthy. Although I did like the people, they had habits that were not meant for my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And
so, one of those habits being smoking.
yes, and they were starting to pressure me on it.
Almost all of them smoked.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine that was a lot on you.
Mm-hmm. But
still haven't touched it, have you?
Touched what?
Smoke.
No, never.
That's good.
And I don't plan on it.
That's awesome.
Partially because if I did, I would die. Very bad asthma. But yeah, I think I answered that question. So.
All right. Well, I guess explain how your relationship with what's his name affected you and our relationship now.
I honestly don't think I really was myself at all that entire time. I don't think I felt like a person. I was constantly being degraded, controlled, manipulated, and used for whatever, even financially.
Yeah. I know whenever you were working and everything, because you had plenty of jobs whenever we were dating the previous time, and you were saving up a lot of money.
Yeah, I had saved up quite a bit, and
it was all gone.
Yeah, all of it is gone.
He let you buy everything for him.
He didn't let me. He
pressured you into buying everything.
Yeah.
He would use you don't have to do this, but if you did, would he do that?
Kind of.
Or would he be like, oh, it'd be nice to have that?
Yeah, and then I was like, yeah, it would, and I'd keep walking sometimes, and he'd be mad at me.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how do you think it affected our relationship?
For starters, trust issues have been huge this whole thing. And that's not just like the cheating thing that we both have struggled with since that incident between me and you. I struggled to trust anybody with my body in that way.
Yeah.
Because of how sex was treated towards me at the time.
And I will say, knowing that, because there have been times where I'll just make the smallest move, and she'll lock up. It'll immediately send her into a panic. because she'll have flashbacks or she'll be thinking of that.
There were times during that relationship where I can remember this one moment, and it was probably the worst because he made me feel so terrible for even suggesting it. And looking back, I should have been like, you absolutely are what I described you as.
How did you describe him?
So we were in the car, and I had made a joke about something. I don't remember, but he like raised his hand, and he was just moving his hand to the center console. But I thought he was about to backhand me. I thought I was about to get slapped. And
Did he
I
make a joke about
flinched
that?
hard. No, he had said, "Why did you flinch? That makes me feel like such an abuser." And he made me feel bad for that.
And yet you should have honestly said, well, you are an abuser.
You are an abuser. Yeah. Because I never had that issue prior to this relationship.
No, you...
I would not flinch if someone tried to do that to me.
Actually, you would...
I would probably be the one that's like...
Yeah, if I ever did that whenever we were together, you would have been like, hey, yeah, let's fight. Grab the gloves.
You want to go? Let's go. Yeah, not anymore. And I think that's pretty much stopped just because of that relationship. That honestly, I used to have a really bad violent temper, and I think that honestly helped calm it down.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
Because
sometimes.
Violent, yeah.
Yeah.
Violence definitely calmed down. Because I used to be the first one to be like, I'm about to beat my brother up.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't remember the last time my brother and I had that kind of fight. But I struggle with trust issues for
between
that
and is that kind of the one thing that affects us the most?
I would say that's the one thing that affects us the most, is trust issues. But I also was having I also get nightmares from that side of my PTSD.
Yeah.
I got really good at hiding my feelings.
Yeah.
And because
not from me.
Yeah, not from you. But once I started releasing all of them, it's hard for me now to hide them, which I guess is a good and a bad problem to have, because I don't think I'll ever be so locked up like I was. But my emotions are literally everywhere, and that part of it is not very fun.
Okay. Now, let's explain how college affected your anxiety and depression.
So, are we talking about before or after I told my parents everything?
Beginning of college. Freshman year. Everything from freshman year to now. College.
Honestly, I would say the beginning of college, the first 2 years, probably some of the most amazing years of my life. I say that. So I had to push everything down, right? Which now, looking back, not great.
No, horrible idea. I've been doing it for years.
Definitely don't don't do that. But it was nice being able to kind of have to step out of my comfort zone. I am not a social person, but I met a bunch of amazing people, and I was able to...
And y'all will get to meet some of these people because we've already talked to some of them, and they want to be on the podcast. So y'all will get to meet some of these amazing people that are her, what you could say, lifelong friends that she met in college.
Mm-hmm. But I would also say that it probably helped with my depression, because there were times I was texting my mom like, thank you guys for making this happen, because I'm having the best time. I went to the University of North Texas, and...
Go Chickens.
No. Eagles.
Oh, that's right. Fighting Chickens.
Ugh. Anyway, and that it was honestly really nice just being in a completely different environment after having such a horrible senior year. Um, I needed a change in my surroundings, which is part of the reason I went to a school that had next to nobody from my graduating class. Otherwise, if I had gone and been my best friend's roommate at Texas Tech, I guarantee you I would not have left her side.
Yeah, yeah.
And she and I have talked about this. She agrees. I would not have met anybody new that she did not know.
Okay, so now talking about whenever we got back together, how did college change at all at that point? I know we had a really good time. I'd come up there every other weekend and visit you, and we had a lot of fun.
And my friends really liked getting to know you at the time, yeah.
We'd do game nights, and we'd go try different food.
Yeah.
I'd go up there for a weekend and spend a lot of money just so we could have a good time. And it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with you.
I had a lot of fun, yeah.
I know we had our times, and we had our, whenever you would have those moments, because it was the first time you had been in a relationship since what's his name. So you were having some of those, I wouldn't say outbursts, you were having some of those reactions, and it was difficult for me to see, but I did my best to help you.
Yeah. I would say up until the point where I told my parents, I was doing great. But once I told my parents and let that weight off of my shoulders, it almost felt like I just kept getting hit by the same boulder. I went back to school the very next week, and somehow, some way, in each and every one of my classes, I'm a technical communications major. There was no reason for these things to be discussed in my classes, but every single course I was taking brought up sexual assault and sexual abuse, and it was just crazy. And about halfway through the week, I emailed all my teachers about what was going on. I was having panic attacks in their classes, and I basically just said, I'm going home. I'm not doing this. And I stayed home for about a week and a half.
It was enough to where all of her teachers said, okay, after this point, we are going to let the entire class know before the class about if this is going to be mentioned. That way you know not to come. Yeah. Because I guess they didn't realize that it's a real problem.
Yeah, some of them had realized that conversation would be triggering. But there were a couple of my courses that just casually brought up a site about it, and I didn't think it would be that triggering to me until it happened. And then I was feeling like trapped in an enclosed classroom, and I ran out the door, and I emailed my teacher later, my professor, saying, hey, I'm sure you probably just didn't realize this, but just as a current student, I just would ask that in the future you would maybe say something at the beginning of the class saying, hey, we are going to be talking about sensitive subjects. If this bothers you, you may not want to sit in this lesson, that sort of thing, because I was going through that at the time. And that professor felt horrible for not even thinking about it at the time, which I'm not going to say that it would have bothered me prior to the conversation with my parents. I feel like I probably would have been fine just from how pushed down my emotions were. But yeah, it was hard that first week of classes especially, and I ended up having to come back home for after that semester, and my anxiety and depression really just got worse. And then in January of this year, I finally started therapy. And it got a little better, but it also got a lot worse.
My last question is, because you're kind of getting into it, how did us getting back together affect your daily life? So we're kind of moving past that already, but
like it really did.
I didn't affect you.
Not that way. Like, yes, you affected me, but I'm one of those people outside of that one relationship that was not me, right?
Yeah.
I'm one of those people where my friends were here before any man. My family was here before any man. I didn't necessarily put you as a priority
You don't
above
need no
them.
man.
No, I'm not going to say that.
You don't need no man.
But you were definitely, you were a priority, but you weren't like the only thing that was going on in my life. I mean, school was still like top priority to me at the time, and my family knew that even when they knew about us. Obviously, since my mental health has changed, that has changed, but it has nothing to do with you, honestly. Because even after telling you I was fine, I was not having panic attacks, it really was after I told my parents that all changed for me. So I would say you probably didn't affect my daily life. I just had it was almost like I had someone else to hang out with every now and then.
Yeah.
Someone to talk to every day, which was nice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how are you doing now?
I'm here.
Now I know we talked about this the other day on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
How is your anxiety and depression doing now? We're on different medications. The only medication that stayed the same is Lexapro, which is a very good depression medication. We've switched up anxiety meds, and you're
Got
taking
my nightmare medication.
Yep, and melatonin.
Yep.
So how are you doing now? You've been getting sleep every night.
I have, yes.
You've been worrying a lot less about me cheating on you.
I think going off of birth control also helped with that.
Yeah.
I went off of birth control because of the timeline with how my emotions were going. And yes, it coincides with the time I told my parents about everything, which is kind of why we were like, maybe I should come off the pill for a little bit, see how my emotions do, and if it helps, great. If not, I'll go right back on it. But so far, it seems to have helped, because even before I went off birth control, I was on the other medications still, or the new medications, and I was still kind of struggling, I would say, with the depression side of things. The anxiety had calmed down a lot, but the depression was still really, really difficult. But I would say coming off of birth control also really helped with the depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good. Is there anything else you'd like to add about just your mental health? Anything you'd like to say to our viewers about mental health?
Don't let someone else's, I don't want to say mistakes, don't let someone else's way of presenting therapy to you turn you off from it. Do your own research. And I really was the one that came forward to my mom at one point, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to go see a therapist. And prior to that day, honestly, I was completely against therapy.
She is still sometimes against therapy.
Yes.
It just depends.
But that's more so like I don't want to go spill out my issues another day. But
you don't want to spill the tea.
But yeah, I would just say don't let someone else's views on it confuse yours. Look at it your own way.
If you feel something is wrong, if you feel that you're down, if you feel that you can't take a step without being anxious, if you feel that even though somebody tells you, hey, it's okay, if you still feel something is wrong, talk to somebody. There's someone out there who will say, you're right. You're completely right. You need to know what's wrong, because there will be plenty of people out there that say, look, this is just a you problem. But it's not just a you problem. This is something that needs to be helped, because you don't need to be thinking like that.
And it affects your relationships.
It does.
It's not just affecting you. It affected my relationship with my mom for a while. It's definitely affected our relationship. I was hiding so much from my friends alone that I think that probably affected a lot of that
And
relationship at the time.
we'll get into how mine affected my family's relationship,
Mm-hmm.
because that was, yeah.
That'll be in another, probably the next video.
Yeah, because I think we're at about time to go ahead and tie this one up.
Yeah.
Well, how do you feel after talking about all that?
A little more relaxed, I would say.
Yeah.
Not entirely relaxed, but we're getting there.
Did I ask the right questions?
I don't think there is a right question for that.
So
I
it
don't
was
think
the
there
wrong
are
question?
right questions. I think they were good questions.
See, that's good, because
but-
I'm a good questioner. I'm not a great questioner, but I'm a good questioner.
Can you really say that if we really had to discuss that you had no idea what to ask 2 minutes before we started this?
No, but that's because
That's
I
what I
only
thought.
started trying to put questions down 2
Mhm.
minutes before we started this, and you wrote
Whose
questions.
fault is that?
Yeah, we know, but you wrote questions down for me 3 days ago.
Because I had said I wanted to plan ahead.
Nah, I'm not about planning ahead. I'm about procrastinating and doing it in the minute of.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Don't forget to go check out our YouTube channel, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you everybody for listening. Axel, say bye. Good job. Y'all have a great rest of your week. I'm Marcus.
I'm Ciara.
Bye.